Hey, this is Shilpa here. So, the idea behind going live was to answer your questions that you've been putting together in the survey. So, if you remember a few days back, I sent you a survey to my list, and I think from the network, we got about 250 or some questions on starting your practice and creating a success using homeopathy in your CAM practice. And I've been going through all the survey questions, and I've been grouping them together into different themes, and I thought this would be a really important process to be able to answer these questions at some point, because there are close to 300 survey questions now, and they keep coming every day. And one important group of questions I've been getting is on promoting yourself as a practitioner, as a homeopath, using your homeopathy. So I'll just read a few and I'll tell you which ones I have got. So one of them was most of them from beginners who said how to market or sell homeopathy in the first year. So they've just started the practice, and this lady's asking me, how do I start homeopathy in my first year? The other one was, how do I attract patients? How do I promote myself as a practitioner? How do I get the public aware of homeopathy? And there was one veterinary doctor who has a vet clinic, and he says, I want to start using homeopathy, but I'm starting from 0 patients. So how do I start from scratch using homeopathy? There's another lady, she's working in the rural clinic, and she says, I'm asking these questions and people think, these questions are not important. So how do I explain to them the process? Then there are others who say teaching the principles of homeopathy for patients used to allopathy. How do I get there? How do I explain to people who don't know homeopathy? So I just thought these were such important questions, and yes, because I've started my clinic from scratch, in 5 different places, from rural clinics to urban clinics, and I've gone through this, and I completely understand what you're saying here, and I've made lots of mistakes doing that. So this is what I can share from my experience. And the number one mistake, which I used to do, and I think most practitioners who are beginners, they do, is they start talking about what they have learned in school. We're so influenced, and we love it, right? What I call as the classical process, which is what, the Hahnemannian homeopathy, what I categorize as stage 3. So when you start talking about that, your people who are out in front of you, it's a complete different plane for them, because you have to realize, when can your people who are in front of you ready for stage 3 classical type of homeopathy, because not everyone is ready. I'll give you an example here, okay? I'm going to show you that from my experience and from my anecdotal. This is anecdotal, okay? So say this is your patient base. I hope you can see this, and I'm giving you a percentage here just from experience. When you start, there are 5% of people in your potential patient group who are ready for stage 3 classical homeopathy. This is like the market who is just ready for your, when you go there, you start explaining and you take that big long case, and they are ready for that. About 50% of your people, they are ready for classical Hahnemannian stage 3 homeopathy in, say, about 3 months, right? And then, say there are about 45% people who are ready in 6 months or more. So you get the idea? When you're talking about, the homeopathy that you've learned in school, you are actually catering to just a very small section of the people in front of you. And obviously, majority of the people aren't going to get you, aren't going to understand where you're coming from, aren't going to understand what your passion is, and where you want to take them, and the deeper healing that you want to do. No, they have a complete different need and want, and that's the whole idea. Is there is a majority of people that need something different than what you're talking, right? So I'll tell you what you need to talk, and I've made some notes here so I don't forget anything here. So what to do instead with these people is you have to use tools at where they are, which is at stage 1 and 2. So this is what I classify as approaches which are giving them what they want. It is getting rid of something which they have, the most pressing problem that they have. And this is what I call as, based on the diagnosis, based on their symptoms, that's what they want. And this is how you create the bond, you create the connection, you go to a level where they are and you start talking the language that they want to hear. And this is so critical, because that's when you can connect with them at a level they are, and that's when they will understand what the process is. So the question now is, how do you do that? What do you say? What do you talk about? And there's another mistake which I've seen practitioners do, and I've done that as well, is you don't talk about what is homeopathy or who discovered it, or because seriously, they don't care. I mean, they can read it if they're interested, but what they need right now is, can homeopathy help me for my problem? Can it help me for my joint pain? Can it help me for my cough? Can it help me for my headaches? That's what they need to. So what you could do instead is demonstrate to them how it works. So the most important thing is when you're talking to them, you show case studies, you show things that have worked. In your part, it could be your case studies, it could be some other case studies you leverage from other practitioners or other places from homeopathy, and you show them you show them statistics of how it has worked. The other thing you could do is what I talk about is you open an acute clinic, you open a clinic where you demonstrate to them and give them an outcome using a stage 1 or 2 tool, which is, I explain that in detail in my course, which is the Pathway to Success in Homeopathic Practice. It's completely free, and I explain what are the different approaches you can use there. But be with me here, you need to give them an outcome in that first consult. You need to give them a result that gets them connected, that develops the trust, and they can then commit, and it's beautiful, the relationship you'll form. So instead of that one big long classical consult where you're digging and trying to get their mentals and their past history and their family history and just annoy and frustrate them and yourself, break your consults down into 1, 2, 3. Remember I said 3 months? That's the period they need to get to that classical place. So you divide them into 3 consults and you give them, look at the most pressing problem they have, use your, in that first consult, use the best tool you can find, give them an outcome. The next time they come, there's another bond, there is another process where they unfold a bit, they get that connection with you and they go more deeper. The third time, there is another shift, another unfolding. And by the time that third consult works, you can see there is a different synergy in the room. The energy is different, the connection is different, and they start asking questions that you want to hear now. And now it's the time that you start looking at, how can I. That's when you can use your approaches. That's when you can use your classical homeopathy. That's when you can use the deeper healing that you really want to. But your patient is not ready for it and they commit to it. That's so important. They have come back because you've demonstrated to them you can help. That homeopathy can give them what they want. And that's the process, that's the story. So, the process of how it is structured and how you can do that, and this is like tried and tested so many of my different clinics and thousands of patients. So it works. That's what I know. And I teach that to my Argentum, my students, and it has worked right from scratch, from practitioners who are just starting today to practitioners who have years of experience, camp practitioners who are trying to use homeopathy in their practices for the first time. So if you want to deep dive into the framework and how you structure those consults and what questions you ask in each consult, so you can take them one step further every time, you have to join this workshop, which I call Pathway to Success in Homeopathic Practice. It's a 3-part workshop. I'm running it right now. It's free, so just come over. The first part's just released, and I talk about the framework there. I talk about the questions you ask, and you can use it right away. Use it on your first patient tomorrow or the first potential client that you want, and share with me what you learn and what the results are, and I'll be so excited to see you in that workshop. So yeah, I'm putting the link just below this video, but I think think that's the way I'll start. If I have 0 patients, I start again in a new clinic. I go and, you know, start a new place from scratch. This is what I'll do because it has worked. And every time you start in a new place, I've realized it grows faster because, you know, you're using the concepts and you're using something that has been proven to work for such a long time. And that's how I came from a very small place in a rural clinic in Nasik to now set up a global practice. And it's not, it don't have special skills. I make lots of mistakes. You know, not every prescription works. But this is such a forgiving method. You know, it gives you time, it gives your patient time to take it one step at a time. You take those baby steps and you'll be unfolding and creating the transformation that you want with your homeopathy in time. So it's a synergy, it's a partnership with your patient, but it's a beautiful relationship and it gets you out of bed to, you know, to see your next patient. So hope that helps, and I'll be putting some more questions and I'll be live, you know, more frequently in the next coming days while the workshop is on. So keep your questions coming. Put your questions down in the, you know, in the Facebook page, or you can put it in the course, or you can write to me. But yeah, keep them coming, and I'll be answering some more questions each time. Thank you very much, and lovely to connect with you.